Hello world, I'm back again and this is with Read and Write Music Part 2 and today we're looking at rhythms, bars and time signatures, and that will include note values, dotted note values, time signatures, ties and rests, and then I'm going to finish it up by showing you an extract from a piece of music. Okay, so starting out then, the note values, these are the most important things. And what I would say to you, I would really encourage people to get yourself a metronome. Now, a metronome is just a little device that goes tick, 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 tick. If you've got a digital piano, a keyboard or a piece of software that allows you to input music, then you have got a metronome somewhere on there. So if you don't know where it is, then just have a little look at your things instructions. So this is what a metronome sounds like to start with. Right, you can set it at any kind of speed. I've got mine set at 66 for the moment, but kids will have great fun doing this and playing it as fast as they possibly can. But when they're studying and when you're studying, just start out at a really sensible speed. And I'm saying 66. It's very slow, but what it does is it helps you to internalize the number of beats. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So the first note value that we've got here is a semibreathe, and I'm going to be doing the bottom A in the bass clef just to be awkward. Okay, it's called a semibreathe. Okay. The Americans call it a whole note. Right, because it usually takes up a whole bar. We'll talk about a bar in a minute. All right, set my tempo going. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. One thing you'll notice about that is that I'm actually holding the note for that length of time. I'm not going 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 1, 2, 3, 4. The note has to be held for that length of time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there might be a time where you don't want sound for a whole 4 beats. Okay? For instance, I maybe want that A to shut up for 4 beats. Okay? So we have what are called rests. Okay? Rests are just exactly what they say. All right? This is a 4-beat rest. Okay? So a semi-brief rest. Okay, I'll just put the word rest there and I'll put 4 beats. Okay? So you can talk about a whole note rest or a semi-brief rest. All right? Next up, we have minims. So if you want a note to last 2 beats, because we halve and halve and halve and halve for the moment, if we want 2 beats, then we're going to have what's called a minim. All right? So that's a minim. I can do it properly. M-I-N-I-M. And this is its rest. Okay? It rests on the middle line. I was always getting confused between semi-brief and minim rests. And so the way I thought about it in the end was to think about a circus act in front of a judge. And so you had the first one coming in and he was balancing, hanging by his feet from the tightrope in the top of the big top ceiling. And the judge thought, wow, that's fantastic. I'll give that 4 points. The minim came along and balanced on the tightrope the right way up, a bit lower down. And so that was only worth 2 points. Take of that what you will. So that's your minim, and this is your minim rest for 2 beats. And again, I'll play you some minims. All right, so get my tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'll play you a semi-brief and 2 minims. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, semi-breathe. You can see why it's important to be able to internalize them, because these beats things, a beat could be anything, right? But if you set a speed as to how far your beat's going to go, a beat has to be exactly regular and exactly in time. It's like your heartbeat. If it gets faster and slower and faster and slower, you eventually die, all right? So we've got to try and keep that regularity, which is why that metronome, to start with, is so important. I actually forgot to say that a minim can be called a half note. So I'll just put that in here. Okay. That's a half note. Now we'll talk about crotchets. Crotchets are sometimes called quarter notes. Right? This is the one that you'll be most familiar with probably so far. It's a filled in note this time. And it's got a little stick on it. Right, it's called a crotchet. There it is. And it's a quarter note. And it's one beat. Its rest can look like two things. For example, it could be, this is the one that you will see in print. Okay, it's just like a little squiggle. A down, a curve, a curve. Okay, do it again. All right, down, curve, curve. All right, very, very simple to do. You can do it like this. A backward 7, but I really wouldn't, because what you will come across with in print is the first one. If you're trying to teach a child how to read and write music, the last thing you want them to do is to start confusing that with backward 7s, especially as the next note that I'm going to teach you about, which is the quaver, has a very similar rest. So this is the crotchet rest, we'll call that. Crotchet rest. Okay, I'll play you some crotchets, okay? Each one of these beats is actually a crotchet, all right? 2, 3, 4, and this is A again. Okay, so those are crotchets, all right? That's the most basic beat that when you're tapping along to a piece of music, that's probably what you're going to be clapping, okay? You're going to be clapping the crotchets, all right? It is absolutely vital, therefore, to internalise what they sound like. Next, we're going to be dealing with quavers. And let's be a devil. We'll keep our bass clef here, all right? But let's move to a different note, just to be exciting. Quavers. One quaver on its own, and you'll notice this time that because I'm above the middle line, I've done the stick going down. Have a look at the previous video for that. One quaver has a little flag on the end of it, all right? If you want two quavers, all right, let's go to this one here. For example, you can do that, okay? Usually, notes smaller in value than a crotchet get joined together. So, for example, here I've got two quavers. This is two quavers here. It's one crotchet. Okay, that's really important for learning about time signatures as well. All right, so let's just call that a quaver. The Americans call it an eighth note. I'm not going to write eighth because I probably can't spell it. Eighth note. All right, it's rest. Okay, this is why I said don't do the backward 7, because there is no choice for a quaver rest. This is a quaver rest. It's a normal 7 in the middle, like that. All right, and that's in print and in writing as well. All right, so really learn the squiggle for a crotchet rest. All right, and that's its rest. Okay, now what I'm going to do now on my metronome is I'm going to play you some Quavers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my little tune now. All right, I'm going to do E going down to A, because I'm still in my bass clef. And because at the moment I've got my metronome set to 4s, and you can see where this is going now, can't you? I'm going to group 4 of these together. All right. And you'll notice here as well that even though an A would normally have its stick going up like that, trying to do this, I can't even do it without shaking because I'm propped at a very awkward angle. But yeah, it doesn't work, all right? So when you join together, you can just choose which way you want the notes to go. You could even do this if you wanted to. Right, counting 4, and I'll repeat them over and over again, all right, so that you get the feel of them. 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2. And you'll notice there how I was counting. And again, when you're first working out music, put scribbles all over your sheet music. If you're not sure how a rhythm goes and you need to count it and group it, do that. I was saying 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... The final note value that I'm going to show you today is the semi-quaver. Now, semi means half, so it looks like this. All right, this time I'm going to do a semi-quaver on a note C. All right, so this is a semi-quaver. Semi-quaver, all one word. All right, it's a 16th note. All right, it has 2 little flags here, like that, okay? And again, they get grouped together, usually in groups of 1, right? So if I want to group semi-quavers into 1 crotchet beat, I'm gonna have 4 of them together like that, and all of those add up to 1 crotchet. As you can see, it works in halves, all right? So for instance, if we've got a semibreathe, that's 4, a minim, that's 2 whole beats, a crotchet, that's 1 whole beat, a quaver is half a beat, a semiquaver is a quarter of a beat, which is why, again, I find that calling them eighth notes and quarter notes and things, it doesn't help when you're actually trying to think of fractions of a beat, okay? Because the American way of doing this, 16th notes, whole notes and stuff, is thinking about fractions of a semi-breathe. And really, when we're counting music, we're counting in fractions of a beat. Notice as well that you could have, instead of having this, which is a quaver, and then 2 semiquavers, like that, which together, that's a half, that's a quarter of a beat, and that's a quarter of a beat, and together they make 1, but you're going to see them joined together like this, for example, all right, which would be like that. So I'll play you some semiquavers, if I can. Right, I'm not very good at playing fast, but I'll play you some C's on semiquavers, all right, in the bass clef. 1, 2, 3. probably about the best I can do at the moment. As I say, once things start getting fast, it starts to get quite difficult to keep that in time. But if you can, practice and practice and practice until you get even playing semi-quavers quickly in time, then you'll find it immensely useful for yourself. So the semi-quaver rest, you can probably guess now, it's rest, looks like this. Okay, just like a continental 7. If that's as clear as mud, then please rewind the video, play that again until you're sure, all right? Because we're going to now move on. So now we're going to be looking at dotted notes. Dotted notes extend the value of the note that it's placed against, and it extends it by half. So a dot adds half again. All right. This is 4 beats. This is 6 beats. All right. 4 plus 2. All right. This is 3 beats. 3 beats. That's 2 plus half of that, which is 1. All right. This is 1.5 beats. Okay. 1.5 beats. Okay. And here I'm going to say it's a crotchet plus a quaver. And then you get my drift. So that dot adds half again, right? You've got to be a little bit careful. There is a reason why when we start to talk about time signatures, you'll see that having a dotted semibreathe, for example, is something that you've just got to beware of slightly, all right? There is a reason why, all right? You'll find it out in a second. But what I'm going to do now is just show you how common these dotted notes are. And again, I'm going to look at my bass line, but I'm going to write a very short piece of piano music for you. So here is a double bar line with a bracket. That means both my hands are going to play together. And I'm going to have some treble clef. I'm going to have some bass clef. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is put in what I call a time signature. All right. That time signature means that I'm going to have 4 crotchet beats in every bar, okay? A bar is just a line going down, all right? So here, in the bass clef, it's exactly the same, all right? You don't get different time signatures for different hands on the piano, all right? A piece can change its time signature somewhere halfway through perhaps, but by and large, the time signature stays the time signature. You don't need to keep writing the time signature. You need to keep writing the clef, but you don't need to keep writing the time signature for every line unless it changes and then perhaps changes back to what it was to start with. But that's, too complicated, all right? So this time signature, we'll talk more about those in a minute then. So I'm going to have 4 crotchet beats in every bar. So I'm going to put that here. All right, 4 times crotchet, just to remind me, but you wouldn't see that normally. All right, so perhaps what I'm going to have here is I'm going to have an E playing here. All right. And in the bass, I'm going to have a dotted rhythm just because I want one. All right, so I'm going to have C. All right, now this is a dotted crotchet that I'm going to do here. Now you notice that dotted crotchet is worth 1. All right, this is worth a half. Okay, now I need to make up the extra beat. All right, now I could, if I wanted to, have a rest. All right, but you'll notice that where this E starts as beat number 1 and C also plays on beat number 1, what I want to do here is just put in my little half there, all right? So that the beats fall here. And again, you know, draw them if you have to. But that will work, all right? And then the next note I want to play with C. I want to let this beat go here. All right, I've got my little dot there, and I'm going to put perhaps a G there, a bottom G in. All right, and then because I want to play this more than once, I want to play it twice, I can do this sign actually, which is a repeat sign. All right, but again, don't worry too much about that. All right, but 2 bar lines with 2 dots on the middle line just means go back to the beginning. So let's let this go. And you can see that actually, speed it up a little bit. See how now suddenly that is your basics of a piece of music, isn't it? So we've looked at dotted note values. We've even spent a little bit of time on time signatures, all right? But we're going to carry on talking about time signatures. Time signatures. Time signatures tell you how many beats there are in every bar, and they're expressed as a number, but it's not a fraction, okay? So again, this is something, don't get it confused with other schoolwork about fractions or anything like that. They're not fractions, okay? This number here, the top number, let's pretend it's 2, all right? That is how many beats, all right? This number here tells you what kind of beats, okay? And although I'll be accused of lying, you're really only going to have in the bottom, okay, you can get X here, could be as many as you like, all right? So we'll call that X just for the moment, but you're going to have 4 or 8. Right? You will get 2 occasionally. You will get 16 very, very occasionally. But for the moment, you don't need to worry about it, okay? This is just telling you crotchets. So in this 2/4 time signature that I've got here, that means that in every bar, there are going to be 2 crotchets, or notes that add up to 2 crotchets, okay? So you might have, for example, 4 quavers. 2 quavers makes 1 crotchet, 2 quavers makes another crotchet, therefore that is 2 crotchets, all right? 8 means quavers, and the most common 8 time signatures are 6/8 and 12/8, but you do get 3/8 as well. Let's just show you a few time signatures. All right, as we said, 2 crotchets in every bar. You might have 3 crotchets in every bar. You might have 4 crotchets in every bar. All right. For the moment, let's just deal with 3/8, because I'll do some more about time signatures in a later video. But 3/8 here is 3 quavers in every bar. In other words, it's double the speed of 3/4. Again, if we look back at what I did up here, I set a time signature of 4/4, okay? In the treble clef, I put 4 crotchets to make up my 4 crotchets per bar, right? If you add up the notes in the bottom bar, so I've got 1, I've got a half, okay? I've got another half here, right? That makes up another beat. Let's just put a number 1 there, all right? And then here, I've got exactly the same. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, before I leave you, I'm just going to flood your brain with something else to remember. And these are things called ties. They are not things that you put around your neck to make you look smart. Well, they are, but they're not, all right? Occasionally, you want notes that are going to last more than one bar. And this is why I said, be careful with that dotted semi-breathe. And this is why, all right? Because at the moment, we're being told that the most common time signatures are 2-4, 3-4, 4-4, and 3-8, which is true, right? There are other time signatures, but just for now, 2-4, 3-4, 4-4, and 3-8. You won't really hear much variation upon that. So, if I wanted, for example, let's pretend that I'm in 3-4. Let's do a quick treble. All right, I'm in 3-4 here. And I want a note to last 6 beats. All right, I could have that, right? It's 6 beats, except that I can't, because in my bar, I've only got room for 3 beats, all right? This is like, EastEnders, Peggy Mitchell. I've got more than 3 people in here, get out of my pub. This is social distancing now, all right? There's only room for 3 people in this particular bar. All right, so if you want more than 3, you're going to have to go into the next bar. All right, so one of the ways to do that is to use a tie. All right, a tie, here I've decided that I've got 3 beats here. I want my note to last 6 beats. All right, so I have to do another note here. Now I'm going to set my metronome to count 3 beats here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if I'm playing that top E there, then that is not what I want. I want it to last 6 beats. So what I can do is, as long as it's the same note, and it only works if it's from one note to the same note, then you can just draw this curvy line. And that means play the first one, so play that bit there, all right? Hold that for 6, okay? And you don't play that one, all right? So you're just holding it on for as many beats as you need. So that instead, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can have ties within a bar as well. Right, I'm going to show you another cool use, which this time adds ties and dotted notes together. And all you ABBA fans might actually recognise what I'm going to do here. Right, I'm putting in some sharps here at the beginning of my piece of music. And what that means is that every time you come across an F, wherever it is in the piece of music, treble, bass, clef, top of the keyboard, bottom of the keyboard, wherever, that F is played sharp. Whenever you come across a C, C is played C sharp. Whenever you come across a G, G is played G sharp, all right? It's just, think of it for the moment as just a space-saving way of making sure that, because in my piece of music, every time I see those notes and I want them to be the black notes, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, then I don't want to have to write it all out over and over again, all right? But don't worry about that for the moment. You're going to pop a 4 and a 4 here, all right? And then I'm going to do a dotted crotchet here. Now I need to finish off my beat here because I've got 1 and I've got half, all right? Now, that's a C sharp because, look, C sharp, Then I'm going to go to E. I'm going to scream in a minute if that does that once more. All right. And these are all quavers. All right, let's just do my counting. So I've got 1, I've got a half, I've got half again, and I've got 4 times a half here. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3. So, oops, let's do this again. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that that bar's full. All right, I want to play this bar 4 times. All right, there is a very, very quick way of saying play this bar 4 times. And you can just do a line like that. As long as you just want exactly the same in every bar. Okay, I want it 4 times. All right, but what I also want to do is here, I want these two. I only want to play that one. That's the one I want to play. Okay, and I want to hold it on for as long as the first quaver. You see what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see how very, very simply, with just a few notes, you can suddenly start composing yourself some pretty good little beats, all right? And that was pretty much how Ring Ring starts. It's sort of... See, it's just... See how very, very simple that was. Finally, I've just got a small extract of Daisy Daisy. Can't make it too long, otherwise I'll get done for copyright. But just so that you can see some printed sheet music, we've got a instruction here, brightly. We've got these 2 staves joined together by 1 bar line and a bracket. That shows us that we're playing both hands together here. It's a piano piece, therefore, all right, to a treble and bass clef. You can just make out an F sharp at the beginning. That means every time you find an F, play F sharp. We've got a time signature here as well, which is saying 3 crotchet beats in every bar. And indeed, looking in every bar. And this, because it's like a grade 1 piece or something, it's as regular as clockwork. It's 3 crotchet beats in every bar. And I've got some dotted minims here. So this dotted minim here is a note B. It's 3 beats. All right, 3 beats. And you'll also see in some pieces, particularly where they're trying to teach you, they put little numbers above or below the notes. And that is telling you what finger you're going to be using. All right, the thumb is always 1, all right? Your little finger is always number 5. Doesn't matter which hand you're using, all right? So, for example, in that first bar here, the first note is G in the left hand, all right? And you'd probably play that with your little finger, all right? And that's what those first 4 bars would sound like in Daisy Daisy. This bit here is a ledger line, all right? The last time we looked at ledger lines, we saw that middle C was written on one, but in the bass clef, okay, the D that is next door to middle C is written just above that ledger line. And that is all for today. The next time I see you, we'll have the fun world of scales and key signatures to look at. All right, so it's getting harder, but it's getting more and more interesting as we go. All right, so look forward to seeing you then.